Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the state of the city and county. My name is Barry Plummer. I'm the president CEO of the Jefferson City Area Chamber of Commerce. And it's my pleasure today to introduce to you the Chamber's strategic partner on talent and workforce, Hitachi Energy, who is represented by Ashley Varner. Let's welcome Ashley.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so wonderful to see everybody's beautiful faces on a Friday afternoon. I'm ready for the day to be over. Welcome. First and foremost, can I ask you all to please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would also like to introduce our two presenting sponsors, industry partners, Michael Whalen, Operations Director at Unilever, and Heath Garvin, Senior Vice President of Supply Chain Distribution with Scholastic. Please enjoy your lunch as we get started with today's program. Today, we are here for the state of the city and county with a focus today on workforce development. Members of our current city council and county commission, please stand and be recognized. Yeah. Our lovely Mayor Turgeon, our previous Mayor Turgeon. Where'd she go? There she is. Thank you for being here. Okay. I would like to introduce our presiding county commissioner, Mr. Sam Bushman, and invite him for a few comments here. Sam Bushman was born and raised here in Cole County and attended Jefferson City Public Schools. He received an undergraduate degree from Lincoln University and a graduate degree from the University of Missouri. Sam was in business downtown with his wife, Linda, for over 40 years, and now volunteers his time with many local and statewide organizations. Sam works with employers in support of the Guard and Reserve, serving as chairman of Region 5 and is the Boss Lift Coordinator for the state of Missouri. Sam's currently working with Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe and MoDOT on recognizing Missouri's Medal of Honor recipients. Sam was first elected presiding commissioner of Cole County in 2014 and is currently running for his third term in that office. Sam, come on up.
No, first, I'm not running for anything right now. I'm done, so Jeff will be the next one. So just vote for Jeff. But anyway, everything is wonderful today in Cole County. The weather's great. Everything's going along. But I'm mainly going to talk on workforce housing because, you know, a few months ago when we were looking at these projects, the county commission voted unanimously to support those. And we still do. So we need these very badly, and if we can't have them in the city, we'll take them in the county. We need the people, we need the workers. We've just got to grow. So these are not low-income housing units. You know, the salaries that are being offered now by Hitachi, Unilever, all of these, you know, $20 an hour equates to $41,500. $21 an hour equates to $44,000 a year. $23 per hour equates to $48,000 a year. $27 an hour, which I think one is offering, equates to $55,000 a year salary. And that include, I mean, there's benefits on top of that. So these are not low income workers. These are middle class. They're making a lot more money than some of our state, county, and other employees here in Cole County. So we want these people, and they're going to be good citizens of Cole County. They're going to live here. They're going to work around us. Their families are going to be here. They're going to go to our schools. They're going to shop here, and they're going to pay taxes here, which is something that, you know, is very important to us as well. So we need to act now. We need to create apartments, both middle class, upper class. We have employees who want luxury apartments. We need all kinds of housing here in Jefferson City and Cole County. And we've got to start moving ahead on this right now. We've got to keep Hitachi, you know, they've got 1,100 employees. We need to keep you, man. We've got Scholastic, who is spending, I think, over $40 million to retool their plant. So they're going to be here for another 25 years with what they're doing. Unilever is adding on a warehouse and distribution center out there. Hitachi's, you're growing, you're expanding. Quaker Window, you know, started out in Osage County, now they're in Marys County, they're in Miller County, but they are close neighbors. We've got Dollar General in Fulton. They need workers. We've got Diamond Pet Food. They need workers. So we need to create this housing for the new workforce that can help us grow. The 2020 census, I think Jefferson City grew 200 people in 10 years. Now, this COVID kind of skewed the census, but that's still not growing. So we've got to grow. We're at the crossroads. We either grow or we die. And I don't want to see us die. We need to add our citizens to Cole County, Jefferson City, and welcome them and make them a part of our communities. So, did I do okay? I have more, but no, I'm not.
Hey, thank you, Sam. All right, I have the pleasure and honor of introducing to the stage next our very new mayor, Mr. Ron Fitzwater. Ron is married, and he and his wife Karen have 3 children and 10 grandchildren. You may know one of them, Senator Travis Fitzwater. He was born in Northeast Ohio and has lived in Jefferson City for 21 years. He has a bachelor's degree from Kent State University and a master's from Cleveland State University. He is the CEO of the Missouri Pharmacy Association and a certified association executive. He served 6 years as a member of the city council before being elected mayor just a few short weeks ago on April 4th. He is a past member of the Transportation and Traffic Commission and past member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. His areas of interest include economic development, public safety, and infrastructure issues, and on rare occasions, golf. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mayor Ron Fitzwater.
Well, it is indeed a pleasure to be here with so many friends and colleagues, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks to Gary and the team for inviting me over to join with you. I got a congratulatory note from former Mayor Eric Strum indicating I was the 62nd mayor of Jefferson City. So I'm taking his word that that number is accurate. Maybe someone can verify that it is a privilege to serve in this capacity. As Ashley indicated, I've been on council for 6 years, really got passionate about opportunities in our city, and I look forward to working with our great team. We've got a number of our city council members, our acting city administrator, some of our staff here. I just so look forward to working with them on the issues that are critical to our community. One of the things I indicated, and we've got the media here, one of the things I indicated after being elected was Jefferson City is open for business, and that's been the things I've tried to talk about over the last couple of years. That we want to make it as easy as possible for people and developers, others to build, invest, work in our community. Obviously, housing, childcare, some of the issues that you're concerned about are very important to us. And those Scholastic and Unilever and Hitachi has been very vocal in working with us. We've had the opportunity to work on some of these issues, share ideas, and certainly for all our small and large businesses in town. We know that that is a critical area. One of the plaques, hopefully you'll see in my office when we get it finished, and we're going through a little repainting and getting it set, is Ronald Reagan has always been a hero of mine, and he had a phrase that said, and with a plaque on his desk that says, "We can do it." And that's what we're going to do. We want to be a resource. And again, we've got a good staff that I think will help us create new pathways to make it easier for people to invest in our community. As I was running and as we were looking at the issues, one of the things I said, and one of the things I try to talk about is for us to be successful as a city and as a community, we've got to have good partners to work with. And certainly Gary and the individuals at the Chamber of Commerce, there are 5 organizations I think are critical to our success as a city and our success in being able to address these issues. And Gary, we look forward, and I look forward, I appreciate the work that we've done so far on working with the Chamber and working with some of these issues. And I know your new chairman has been very vocal on housing issues, and we get the message. We're gonna work on those issues. But the Chamber is obviously very critical. For a community to be successful, we've got to have a strong university. We're fortunate to have Dr. John Mosley at Lincoln now. You know, I think he has turned that university around. We see some exciting things, but that is going to be another key partner that we have to work with. Our school and our educational system is critical. We're going to try to attract people to this community, which will even enhance our need for housing. But Brian McGraw has been a great friend, and the staff at the school system, certainly Elias and our other schools, but we've got to have a good school system in this community if we're going to meet the needs. So I so look forward to working with him and his team as we look at opportunities throughout the community. The regional economic partnership, and I saw Luke here, we've got to have economic development, and we have already been working on some issues, some parking issues downtown. If you haven't listened to the legislature, there's an interest in the legislature in us addressing parking issues. So, we've got some challenges with our Madison Street garage, and see Representative Griffith back here, he gets some of those arrows. So we're trying to deal with those issues, but certainly the education system is a key part in our regional economic partnership, and then our partnership with Cole County. If we can get those 5 team members to work with the city, and what I'm trying to say is we need to up our game with the city to be a partner in that group. If we can get those 6 organizations focused on moving in the same direction, I think we can address this housing issue. We are committed to making the city a better place to live. And again, Sam talked about the investments that have been made in our community. We so appreciate the investments that you're making and are going to continue to make. And again, in addition to all the other business owners in the room and people that have been involved. So our responsibility at City Hall, I think, is to create that platform. And we had a meeting at the Chamber last week. We kind of talked about that. From the city perspective, I'm a limited government type individual, but I know there is a role for government. We've got to develop that platform so that you can do what you're successful at and commit it and help us build the city. So that's my pledge to, again, work with our staff to see what we can do, and working with developers, working with our inspection process, our permitting fees, anything that we can do to make it an easier investment in Jefferson City. Again, we understand housing, job care, our workforce issues are critical. We're going to be laser focused on those things. You know, one of the things that hopefully we can do at City Hall is to begin to narrow and create a vision. I know we've got some models out there. We're going to work on your behalf, and I'm so excited for this opportunity. So, excellent. Thank you.
Right, so for the next part, we're gonna have a housing panel discussion. My name is Susan Cook-Williams. I am the Executive Director of River City Habitat for Humanity, and I'm also the Chair of the Capital City Housing Task Force. Our task force was formed after the tornado in 2019, and we have a bunch of housing advocates that come together on a monthly basis, and we talk about housing issues. So this is right up our alley. So thank you everybody for joining us today, and I'll invite the panelists to come up on stage. All right, so with all the issues around housing, it seems like we're all thinking about how we can solve the national crisis, especially here in our own community. And so our objective with our time today is to share some of that thinking of the housing crisis in our community and how we can solve it. So because Ashley warned me that some of these guys are talkers, I'm going to do a quick introduction of each of them and then start the questioning. So, let's see, they switched orders on me though. I haven't written the chairs. So, first, we have Greg Callahan, who's the factory manager at Hitachi Energy with over 23 years of leadership experience. He graduated from Alfred University. Next, we have Keith Garvin, the senior vice president at Scholastic. Keith has been with Scholastic for over 27 years and is a Lincoln University graduate. Is Dr. Mosley with us today? No. Next, we have Sam Bushman, presiding commissioner for the last 9 years. And yep, I know you graduate. Next, we have Ron Fitzwater, Mayor Fitzwater. Get used to saying that. He is the CEO of the Missouri Pharmacy Association and graduated from Kent State University. We have Luke Holtschneider, the Chief Executive Officer at JC Regional Economic Partnership, who has over 13 years of progressive experience in economic development and a fellow LU graduate. And then we have Logan Gratz, a broker, salesperson, and auctioneer at Gratz Real Estate for the past 11 years, and yet another Lincoln University graduate. So welcome everyone. And so let's talk about housing. So we switched orders on me, but I'm going to stick to my order. So Luke, we're going to start with you. From an economic development standpoint, does housing really have an opportunity to improve our economic conditions?
Yes. Yes, it does, and to kind of the why is beyond I think housing, but the reason why housing is critical to improving our economic conditions. So when looking at what supports a community, what creates wealth, that wealth that then circulates throughout the community, that supports local businesses, it brings people in, and it provides commercial retail type of opportunities. It's all based upon a population, and that population that turns into workforce, tax-paying entities as well that help support local infrastructure. And so when looking at some of our kind of biggest challenges to moving forward as a community in increasing our wealth, it starts with people. So, as a community, how can we be a community that people, want to live in? So do we have healthcare, education, infrastructure, and school, places of employment, retail, recreation, so all the desirable amenities that a community can provide that can make us competitive with others. But at the core basic essential, do we have places for people to live? And so when you look at some of our numbers and the data that's been produced, we've been pretty steady, and not steady growth, but steady flat on a population standpoint for the past couple of decades. And so one of those unlocking features is the opportunity to grow our population, that there are job opportunities here. There is a great healthcare and education system in place and local government to support people. But one of those challenges, quite honestly, is the people having a place to live. And so that it spans all spectrums of housing needs within the community. So yes, circling back to the question, housing is a critical component to improving our economic conditions.
Does anybody else want to chime in or have a remark on that one? Great. Ashley, you lied, didn't I? All right. So next we will ask Keith. You're a Mid-Missouri native and have been in Scholastic for more than 25 years. How have you seen the housing issue evolve from Scholastic employees over this time?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone for continuing this path. It started with a council meeting, it seems like forever ago, but we've continued to invest in these discussions to really bring the need of the community. And after the tornado, it was really going on for quite some time. So the persistence to bring these issues up and really talk about the core thing. I talked to a lot of the members, around it. And this isn't new. It's not something we did. You have to have a plan for these type of objectives, and it's been out there for quite some time for all of us. It was in the early 1990s started happening. You could see that there were opportunities to grow. So I want to make sure that from this day forward, everybody here as a part of the solution, not about where we were or what we're doing, but more about where we're going as a community. And I sometimes I get into forums and they're like, why did it go wrong? And I said, I've seen more go right, and companies are wanting to invest here, but we don't have the population growth. So I think that's the thing people need to understand, because when they look at us, they're like, I wish I could make it bigger. And we're trying, but I'm just saying, you can't measure the opportunities we're missing out on. You have to sit in a conversation with the folks that run these businesses to understand it. And I'm glad that we're creating these forums to bring that up, because it's important. This is one of the most important things, not only for the growth of the schools. I mean, the more and more we have growth, the schools will get better. I mean, I sat in this week on the teacher of the year. I mean, outstanding. I had one of the toughest days in my distribution center this week, but I went to that thing and to see the educators come together and the inspiration. We have a lot of secret sauce. So thank you for setting up this forum. We have to keep doing this. But from that standpoint, I am fortunate, and I don't know how it all happened, but everything seemed to work out right for me. I grew up in a smaller town, 300 people, 306, if I remember the sign. I went past it in Centertown, which was a while, and it was a small school. I actually went to kindergarten there, but I had a fortunate, and everybody says you were fortunate. I was fortunate that Jefferson City Public Schools annexed that in, and I was able to come into Jefferson City Public Schools, and it was, the bus picked me up literally at 7 o'clock at school. It was an hour long commute. It prepared me for a New York commute, by the way. And it did, because that was short in comparison. But I got to come to the school district, and it was something special at that point in time that really wouldn't have been offered to me at that point. And from that standpoint, I met some of my lifelong friends that have persisted with me, you know who you are in the back of it, and been with me all the way through, both here in Jefferson City, but as I've gone to New York. And some of those relationships, they persist, and they have all good memories about what this community was. It is a very tight community, but it does struggle keeping them here, because as we've all graduated and gone through our different roles, it's just, there's not enough opportunity outside, so they end up leaving. And that's one of the common things we hear about it. But what starts the path to leave, and really what are the hurdles? And the first hurdle is the stigmatism between rental property is low income, that everybody wants to own a home. And I think the mayor said it in one perspective, and I go to other communities, a lot of people aren't, the maintenance isn't cut out for them. They want to spend their time outside in the culture and spend less time taking care of a home. From that standpoint, that stigmatism has to be out of the way, because there's many lifelong renters here that basically are quite happy with the accommodations we provide. The other piece is that it is a stepping stone for people who are trying to build up capital, who do aspire for a home. Affordable renting, reliable apartments is critical. And I counted in preparation of this, I rented in 7 different places. All at the beginning was trying to find a better place. But then at the end, it was more about how do I progress up to accommodate more family members and different things like that. But from that standpoint, it's a way to keep folks here and continue to move up in their professional ladder. And that's where it starts to struggle. And that's when we can't keep folks here that could be in those semi-professional, where they're not in management jobs, but they're in that paraprofessional realm, where we're losing the intellect that we develop at our entry-level positions. And we are, and we saw it happen during the pandemic. I had engineers here that they were renting they don't live here full time, but they were renting places and working part-time, and they lost their apartments, and it became scarce. Even when I came back from New York, I could not find a house that was even built. Fortunately, I knew somebody from high school, and they found me a place because they knew somebody, and it never went on the market. But I mean, that's the type of housing that we're talking about, and then the career path, and how to invest and build capital, because that is what this is about. Because people, number one, the scarcity creates hardship, and the quality of the housing, because the quality of the housing was falling off. And we see it, if I move away from the professional side, the quality was falling apart for quite some time, because there was a lack of competition, that there weren't new affordable housing units that were high efficient. And when I say affordable, if they are efficient with air conditioning, lighting, they can save a lot of money. Renters can. It's not just about the upfront rent, but we were lacking new models coming online. And so whenever the tornado came through, we had a lot of folks already living in, what I would say, non-efficient housing, because they were having problems with the maintenance. And we see it in our attendance when people show up, but it exacerbates it. And so from that standpoint, when we're talking about workforce housing, that's what's that about, because we want the reliability of the housing and have a good hybrid of all types of housing, that we need to not say one is better than the other. There's demand for all of them. And so what I would say is we challenge ourselves is that we use the study that was done before, that, what is, where do we want to be in population? What is the proper mix in housing units, and have an aggressive plan? And my last plug is for the zoning team, because I've spent a lot of time with them. We also need to look at zoning solutions to make it easier for builders to come in and operate in this, because they've done an outstanding job of where a lot of the zoning, where the housing is very important. If people have to drive a long way, I can tell you, it also is one of the other things that we see is reliable transportation solutions around workforce density, right? Where the workforce goes, we need to position our units closer to them and not make them so far, because it is going to be a drain on our workforce and also be a hardship. So I can't talk for a while. Whoever said that, so, thanks.
Thank you. So to follow up with that, Logan, in your line of work, you interact with a lot of commercial and residential developers. What do you believe needs to happen to streamline the local development process?
Well, the mayor touched a little bit on this too. I think we've got to have an open mindset, and whenever people want to invest money in our city, come up with an idea, we need to have the mindset is how can we make this happen? Not how can we stop this from happening? It's we've got to, as a city, be able to, as a county, be able to have that open mindset that if somebody wants to spend money here, that we're going to help them in any capacity that they can do it. And I don't know if anybody here is in the market trying to buy a house right now, trying to find a real property. It's tough. There's not much out there. There's not many rentals available. So we've got to do something to entice these developers to continue to want to invest in Jeff City and give them all the benefits and the ability to do it.
All right, so let's go to you, Greg. Your company just celebrated 50 years in Jefferson City. Congratulations. How important is housing for the next 50 years?
Certainly critically important. And it's interesting as I've kind of compared to everyone else, I'm a new person in town. I've been here about 2.5 years. That as I moved around the country in different roles, I've never struggled so much to have a development workforce to fill our needs. And for us to continue to grow, the demand we're seeing for the transformers is continuing to grow. We see that to be the next 3 to 5, potentially 10 years of strong demand. And we need people to make that happen. There's 2 key elements we have. We need the right people, the right workforce, and we need the right supply chain. It was just interesting for us yesterday. We hosted about 85 of our suppliers from around the globe here in Jeff City. And the whole message with them is developing partnership. But typically when you bring a supplier in, you're asking for them, here's what we're doing, and we need 10% price. That wasn't the message yesterday. The message was all about partnering for growth. We feel like we got that addressed. We actually had the opportunity to take them over to the Overton reception last night. Mayor joined us for some discussion. So we feel like we've got the supply chain handled, right? But if we can't get the workforce in place, it's going to be difficult for us to meet that in the market. It's just interesting to me as I've gotten to know Mike and Lieber. We've got 3 companies here that decided just to locate in Jeff City for a lot of good reasons. To think about it from a logistics perspective, we're right in the middle of the country. So there's a lot of synergy there. And as I talked to most of you, we talked about they're investing, we're investing. So we have our corporate support to grow in this community. But if we can't get the workforce in place, it's going to be hard to achieve the growth we're looking for. So we're positioned well in the markets we serve, and we have a strong backing from our corporation. But the biggest question I get asked is, will you get young people? And I think that's a dialogue that the work system having as we lead this group, and we're kind of tired of competing for the same people.
Amen.
We need a bigger workforce, and we need a workforce that really is geared to work in the manufacturing environment. So the partnerships we're developing with the universities, with State Tech, and even as you look at the Nichols Career Center, right? We need to get folks again to think about going into a manufacturing career is a good job, right? They mentioned it. Commissioner Bush mentioned, you think about $21 an hour, you make $40,000. A little bit overtime, you're going to get $50,000 a year. That's a reasonable salary to start. We have folks who, as you're going up through, making $30 an hour. So we need a workforce to be successful. We're committed to this community. I think you've seen us as we transition from Westinghouse to ABB and now to Hitachi Energy. We're committed to this community, and we're ready to do whatever we need to do to be successful. Thankful to be here, and really enjoy being immersed in this place. Thank you.
Yeah, we're grateful that you're here too. So Mayor, you touched on a little bit, but as our new mayor, what role do you personally plan to take in addressing our council needs?
Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I appreciate the comments. This is a partnership. We are going to address this issue. I see my role is, one, we've got a very good housing study that has been done in this community, a comprehensive study, and, I applaud the work of those that put that together because it gives us a lot of ideas, and we certainly want to continue those ideas in those directions because it is a very comprehensive plan. The second piece that I've been talking about, and Gary has been a good ally for me to bounce ideas, and Luke is putting together a housing, what I call a housing work group, not to supplant what has been done by the task force, because that is an amazing report, but to maybe take it to a level of some individuals, and there are people in this room that I talked to about being on there that have been very cooperative and helping us. How do we now take this task force report and implement the various pieces, because there's a lot of very critical pieces in that report. So I appreciate the people that have indicated that they would step up and serve. Again, we don't want to duplicate, we don't want to go back and reinvent. We want to take the ideas and maybe bring people at different levels, different backgrounds that can help us implement. Because as we all know, when you go out with controversial issues, you have to bring the community together. And I felt like the broader that we could get that group, the better that we can sell the ideas and the things that have been discussed. Third piece is just kind of from the mayor's position, keeping this issue on the forefront. I think we've got 6 council members here, there are 10 council members. They're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I'm committed to working with them in partnership to make sure, and there have been some amazing ideas that they've come up with, but we're going to have to depend on that partnership, not only with the community, but within city council to be able to bring ideas. The zoning issue, we have got to take a look at that. The permanent inspection, how can we make that process as easy as possible? We've got to check boxes. We've got to make sure that we do the things that we need to do as city government, but we don't need to do any more than that. We've got to make city government responsible. So, working with city council, working within our staff, and we've got some amazing staff that are very laser focused on this issue. And the last thing is just keeping it in the public eye and continue to preach the message that we have got an opportunity for this community to just explode. I just got back from Washington, D.C. I was in Nashville a few months ago. There are construction cranes everywhere. So to hear the responses that we can't do it here, there's dollars out there, there are people that want to invest. We've got to figure out how to get them to invest in Jefferson City, and I'm going to be focused on trying to do that.
We look forward to seeing what that task force can do. So, Commissioner Bushman, what do you think the county brings to the table when it talks about housing?
Well, Cole County is very motivated. So we want to work with you as our partners. We want to work with the contractors. I've been meeting with some of the entities that had applied for the apartments before. But, part of my concern too is I'm getting older, but the aging of our workforce is also an issue. So we need these young families to come to Central Missouri and increase our population, but also fill these jobs. I was on Cap Region board for like 12 years. Our workforce at Cap Region is aging. At the county, again, it's aging. We need these young people to come in and live in Jefferson City and raise their families here and, just be a part of our communities. And we're getting, Russellville and Wardsville just keeps growing. A lot of our communities out in the county are growing too. But we need these young workers who want to become a part of our community, and I welcome them. So I'm glad you're still here, and you're one of my neighbors out east, and the fact that you're putting over $40 million to upgrade your plant, that means you're going to be with us for another 25 years. And hopefully 25 years from now, you'll do it again. And of course, my brother-in-law worked for you for years year. So it's, thank God for you. And now we've just got to provide workers for you.
So as we wrap up our time together, one final question. Everybody get out your crystal balls. Right? I'm looking, they may all look down the line on this one, but if you look down the road 5 years from now, what is your half crazy but educated prediction about the next 5 years as it relates to housing? Maybe give us a little bit of reason for hope.
Well, my prediction, I think we're gonna need to see a lot more construction. It's not, that housing isn't just a Jeff City problem. I mean, it's a problem in other areas. But I think I'm hopeful we're gonna see our community grow. I really don't see in short-term pricing going down. Material costs are up. The wages are up for all construction workers. Land values aren't gonna go down anytime soon. The cost to develop not gonna go down anytime soon. So I really don't see a big bubble like in 08. But I think we're gonna have to keep building, and it's going to be a struggle in the housing market for a while because there's a lot of people last year or the last 2 years that either bought or refinanced and are stuck at a 2 or 3 or 4% interest rate. And financially, it's not the best decision for them to move. So I think inventory is going to be a struggle. I think construction is going to continue to be good, and we just need to keep developing.
Well, I would just add that, I think we've got to do our moonshot. That's what I'm hoping for. And I think we all remember, learning about President Kennedy when he came into office as president, saying we're going to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, which happened. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to see it happen. And I remember reading the story of them interviewing a janitor at NASA during that process, and they asked him what his job was. He said, "My job is putting men on the moon." Everybody bought into the concept. So my goal is we're shooting for 50 right now. We want to get a population of 50,000. We hit that. I don't know that we can do it in 5 years, but we've got to keep laser focused again on building this community for a lot of reasons. We've got to support our industries here. So, that's kind of my main job. We've got to get everybody on task, and it's got to be something that the community gets involved with. I would ask the media to hold us to task when we're doing good things, talk about it. When we're not, call us out on it. But we've got to all be bought into this. We're going to be successful.
I think to follow up with it, we've got to take advantage of any funding that ever comes available because, our contractor can't go out right now and build a 2-bedroom duplex and afford to rent it for $600 a month. The cost to build everything is, inflation's gone up. So if there's funding out there that comes available to our developers, we need to take advantage of those opportunities.
You got 45 seconds.
Okay, good. I deferred a lot of my time to eat, so. I think too that, to kind of wrap it in a positive as well as that, not every community has opportunities like we have in growth. I think, we're right for that, where our industry partners, our core business is saying that, this is a community that they can grow in. The challenges to their growth are things that we can control, but also that there's, we have good, the builder community, the real estate community, the development community has interest in, really attacking those challenges that will open up these opportunities for additional wealth and growth in the community. And I can tell you from, previous efforts, that's not the case in every community across the state, across the country. Some may have housing, but they're lacking, employment and employer opportunities. We have a strong base of business here. How we can best support them is continuing to grow from a population standpoint.
All right, so that's going to round it up for us, but I will put a plug in too for the nonprofits, my girls in the back, because we're here too, and we are looking to solve the housing crisis as well. So thanks, sorry, my guys in the back too. Sorry. So we appreciate our panelists and and for their expertise today, and we hope that you will all continue to join us on this important discussion as we move forward.
I'd like to go ahead and invite the panelists from Child Care to come on stage while I make a couple of introductory remarks. I want to thank Luke Holzmaker, who I wrote about 18 months ago, saying that the number one issue when I arrived, of course, was housing, workforce issues. I went to Luke and said, hey, we need to work together on this. And he was very gracious in accepting that invitation. When J.C. Graff and the Chamber, we started a workforce coalition back 18 months ago. We have about 30 members from public and private sector on that group. Amy Sublett, who was the Central Missouri Workforce Development Director, is with us today. And she's raise your hand. Amy was one of the people we approached to co-chair the group. Paula Benny, who you're going to meet here in just a second, has been the other co-chairman from the very beginning. They worked very hard in pulling this coalition in the right direction. Set up some action teams. We have a lot of members of those teams in the room today on things like talent attraction, career awareness, and childcare. And we discovered early on that we were in a critical situation with childcare. Probably a lot of you recognize the number of centers that closed after COVID or during COVID. And we also saw some people who were struggling to come back after that and decided that maybe 30 years of business was enough for them. And so we started to see the capacity shrink pretty quickly in the Jefferson City area. Everyone on this panel has been personally engaged in childcare. And you'll see that in just a few minutes as we get started. I'm going to introduce them. At the far right, we have Teresa Versluis, who will be with the United Way of Central Missouri. We have Shauna Corcoran, who is with community leader when it comes to childcare, works very close to the state government on that. Stormy Anderson is at SSM St. Mary's. She's been one of the team leaders in the workforce coalition. That's fans. We got Paula Benny, who I mentioned earlier. She is the owner of CNS Business Services and one of our co-chairs for the Workforce Coalition. We have Keisha Sutherland, who has a childcare center called Joy and Gladness Academy. And we have Michael Wheeler, who is the operations director at Unilever, who's been very engaged in this issue as well. Let's give this group a welcome. All of them start with you. As co-chair of the Workforce Coalition, you've been very involved in a variety of issues, but you chose to really focus your time and efforts on child care. Tell us why you did that and how you were engaged in the child care system.
Child care has been a huge issue. We've all seen it. And in our Workforce Coalition, we identified child care as being one of the critical needs for our workforce. And how do you solve the workforce issues? I can tell you since 2019, we have lost 9 child care centers in Jefferson City, not including the in-home child care centers that were hurt during COVID. And that affected hundreds of families. And I was very fortunate when we identified child care to be partnered with Sean and Teresa. They were miles ahead of me, and partnering with them, we focused on how can we bring the business community together to help our child care centers. And I got a crash course into the struggles that child care centers were having, and it was overwhelming. They're stressed. They don't have staffing. They're not at capacity because they can't find enough staff. I know my workers have to be, they're on a waiting list to get into a child care center. And so we learned the struggles what these child care centers were going through. And our businesses were eager to help. And Teresa came up with the idea of the Partners in Education to include our childcare centers in this. And it was awesome. So we started a pilot program in November with 7 or 8 of our businesses and 5 or 6 of our childcare centers, and mashed them up and started this pilot program. Our childcare centers had to come to us with a wish list. What is it that you need? What are you need help with? And we've never been asked what you need before. So we had to do a little coaching, and it could be as simple as chalk and bubbles, because they go through a lot of chalk and bubbles. Or it can evolve into help with our shaded in their outdoor playground. It could be a phone call, I learned that our childcare centers, they went into childcare because they love our kids. But they may not be strong in the back end or, accounting or HR. So it was a phone call. You can call your partner and ask them a question. And this was a relief, Angie said, we should have done this a long time ago. Our businesses are eager to help. My partner, she called, she's like, my refrigerator's out. A few phone calls in this great community, I could buy a refrigerator, we could have it delivered. And she didn't have to shut down her center. The workers didn't have to call in to work. We problem solved. So we're very excited about this program that we're doing. You'll hear some of the testimonies, they're fantastic. But when you have Betsy and you have Lieutenant Governor telling us, you are way ahead of the state of Missouri, that's pretty impressive what we're doing. And I can tell you, Teresa and Shauna, they're awesome in what they're doing. So, anyways, I'll turn it over to you.
I remember the early going, Paula, we were kind of scratching our heads and saying, where do we start? And we decided to reach out to United because they've been in this space for quite some time. We met Teresa. And Teresa, tell us a little bit about what we've been doing, but also some of the more recent activities that we've been able to partner together on.
Thanks, Gary. Yes, as United Way, we do have an early childhood initiative. We've been doing that for over 15 years. So as Paula mentioned, we started way back. We knew the importance of early childhood. So we really did focus a lot on training. One of our goals was, when we first established our initiative, we wanted to support early childhood programs. We also wanted to look at the gaps in the needs of early childhood. So over the years, we've done a lot of training. Some of you know, I want to thank a shout out to the centers that are here. We have Early Explorers and the Y and Julie Michelle, vacation up here, but we really couldn't do our work without the partnerships that we have with our childcare centers. But anyway, so over the years, we really did training. We currently are doing a lot of conscious discipline because we know mental health is a need, and conscious discipline is a model of self-regulation for children. So we're really excited about that. And then a couple of years ago, Shauna and I were asked to be part of the Youth Leader, part of the DESI grant, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about that in terms of looking at our area for the childhood efforts. And I think that's where the workforce really, it kind of really goes up. We cover 4 counties, so we were going around to the 4 different counties of Cole, Osage, Montauk, and Miller, and with time over time, but I think initially we were hoping to do more training and to do different things, but then we realized workforce wasn't even what I'm doing. That was an issue. Centers were closing, like Paula mentioned. We knew the early childhood centers that we work with, as United Way, in our initiative, we knew they were not capacity, staff. So we really started to look at the workforce issue. So that's where we joined the Chamber Workforce Coalition, and we really did brainstorming.
I want to give Shauna a chance to react to that.
because you introduced us to Shauna. Shauna, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing in the workforce area, and what does it mean for you to be called a community leader in this space?
So just over 2 years ago, I work for Blair Oak School District and I coordinate the early childhood program and work with their parents and teachers program. And we were asked to come into this space as the early childhood community leader, work with the state because they received a preschool development grant. And the state wanted to bring somebody into an area that can help coordinate all the activities that are happening in the early childhood space. There's so much good work happening, but a lot of people don't know about what's happening. And it was very splintered and siloed. So with this work, we joined with Teresa and the United Way, some of their early childhood initiatives, and we started surveying the landscape of the counties we work in. And one of the biggest things that we heard about is Teresa said we thought our intention was, and we thought it was going to be training for early childhood individuals, but really it was childcare. Everything kept on coming back to childcare, and we leave every meeting going, once again, we had this on our agenda, we ended up speaking about childcare and the childcare crisis. So we got with Gary and Paula at the chamber and started working with the Workforce Coalition to bring information and education about what we do about childcare, about what grants the state currently has. And we set some goals, and some of those things were, how do we support childcare providers that are currently in business? How do we bring more childcare providers into the space of working as a provider or opening up their own center? And then how do we show appreciation for all of those that are doing this and then stimulating that workforce pipeline? So those are just some of our goals that we've done. Some of the things that we've been doing in the space are going to our middle school and high school students and telling them about the field, because there's nobody going into the field. If you talk to your higher education systems, the enrollment is down. So we are trying to stimulate that workforce pipeline down here. We worked on the PIE program and connecting businesses with providers to have a support system. Next Tuesday, we have an early childhood event in our area where we're going to celebrate early childhood providers. We have about 130 providers coming together and early childhood individuals, and we're going to just celebrate them and have a dinner for them. And the amount of appreciation just for a dinner has been really amazing. And so I think by supporting those providers and elevating them to be business professionals and connecting them with businesses that can help support them, we're seeing that we're going to build that space of childcare, because that's one of the big needs, that if you're going to come in here as a new business into our community, you're going to look at schools, you're going to look at childcare, and if you don't have a space where your child's going to come in and be healthy, safe, and ready to learn, you're going to think twice about coming into that community. So that's one of our big goals, is to help every child be healthy, safe, ready to learn, and have a great environment to grow up in.
So now you can see how this has been a partnership with Teresa, Shauna, and the business community, building the childcare centers and the business community together. Michael Whelan, for chair of the Manufacturers Roundtable, helped us engage some of his peer organizations around the community. Michael, why do you think this idea of a partnership between business and childcare is good, and how have you seen it be effective?
Yeah, I think one, go back, I think everything we talk about here is relative, right? So we talk about people, we talk about costs, right? We understand, in the woes of COVID, right? Why weren't people in the workforce? Really around daycare, we know that 2018 daycare was eliminated in the area that COVID kind of hit. So we really understand the main points of kind of what our child care providers are trying to do in that space. And what we go and realize is just the same thing as Greg stated earlier, right? We're tired of competing with one another on wages. It's the same thing in the child care industry. Costs are going up, right? So as the costs going up, you can only raise prices so high that your margins and your ability to succeed in the business becomes a problem. So the entire ecosystem is affected. So I think many times we've been very functional on our roles as a community and as organizations. And I think, where we were in 2019 and then through COVID, right, we've kind of ripped the Band-Aid off in a lot of areas where the ecosystem needs a shot. And I love the word around moonshot, right? That standing there, we really have to make sure that we have a vision, we have a strong, I'd say compass, and northern light to say, again, where to go into. But I think, for us, number one is partnering with our child care providers, right? Knowing that that's a need within my own community, my own ecosystem. At a factory, and supplying more people, particularly on my night shifts and on my weekends, as we're a 24/7 operation. And quickly realizing it, as Paul had stated, it is some just the minor things. Even the appreciation of a person in their community for
drinks one day and having a celebration with the individuals. But I think more importantly, around the costs associated with, again, not having enough people, raising costs, and not being able to afford people to provide the childcare that is needed within the facility. So some of the things that we've been partnering with is subsidizing, right? So we're about ready to initiate a subsidy program and help offset the costs. I think we're very glad to hear it, and already part of the plan as well. Not only does it provide a benefit to our employees, it's also reserving that account, developing that relationship, and more importantly, helping to support, an area of business and an ecosystem that needs to get charged. It's so important to the future development of our community. Really around how you start at a young age and make sure you get that right daycare. I learned a lot. I never thought I would learn so much around childcare. As a factory operations guy, right? But I've learned so much around childcare. I used to call it daycare and Paul would give me a whack on the back of that since childcare. I think for us, it's really around how we become more engaged to help an area that again is probably not maybe the focal point for a lot of people, but how can we help support the subsidized so they can keep costs low and opportunities.
Thank you, Michael. Lakeisha, you have rebuilt your childcare business after the tornado. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sometimes when I go back to the journey, which was going to back there from May of 2019, first of the story of my 24-hour daycare. The story of the 24-hour daycare, it was a struggle trying to find a building because of the zoning, parking lots, just a place, to call our home. It was, the dream was very far away from me. So of course, we ended up going back in home. My mother and I, she took the infants and I took the preschool children. But of course, the COVID hit. My daughter was in the hospital, so I had to shut down. Here, I go once again, I've been able to help families, provide care. It was bittersweet, 2021, when I was on Facebook scrolling and found a daycare that was selling their items. Of course, I was interested in buying items, but I was more interested in getting information on the owner of the building to see if they were want to continue to lease into a daycare. Of course, when I contacted the owner, he said yes. So 2022, Joint Gladness reopened. Of course, we were just opening for morning. A couple months later, I connected with Paul with the CNS, Unilever, and Hitachi. This program has been such a blessing to me. Like Ms. Paul was saying, just a phone call there, just knowing that somebody cared. My background is in childcare, not human services. So, of course, I struggled a little bit with that, but my partners had my back and they were able to connect me with someone that was educated, that can show me, take up the time to show me how to be more effective in that area. The support and the contribution, we were partnering with them, they're going to be able to offset some of the income. Because when you expand, you have to have working capital. That's something that, with everything going on and a lot of other daycares closing, the workers and not having our enrollment up high, we kind of struggle with that. So with them partnering up with me, we're now able to expand our hours to the 24-hour daycare. We have morning, evening, and overnight, and soon to have weekends as well. So it's just such a blessing to have favor on your life to really stay in the community of Jefferson City, exactly what a childcare was able to reach back out to me before my doors closed. So it's been such a blessing.
We admire your tenacity, something like that. Stormy, you get the last word today. SSM has been one of the companies involved in this pilot project, and our plans are to expand that. If there are companies in the room that like to be a part of this going forward, please reach out to me. What has the experience been like so far for Singers?
So the experience for Singers has been amazing. While I thought we were doing this great favor, and we have the blessing of partnering with Show Me Childcare, you know, and the intent was thinking we would be able to give back to them, but the partnership with Julie and her long-term staff, her dedicated staff, and again, the conscious discipline. I've learned so much about what they're doing, but they have given so much to us. So while I enjoy, oddly enough, helping with her employee handbook, her parent handbook, the job descriptions, and all those things that are not her passion, she has had their kiddos do coloring pages, and they've brought Easter pens and St. Patty's pens. And if you know anything about healthcare, it's all about the pens. And so that has been huge. Not only does she do that, but she provides us photos of the kiddos making them. And so it's a million little things that have been great. We have had the blessing of being able to take one of our employees who frequents as Santa Claus every year, and we were able to provide the first Santa Claus with a complimentary elf, because we have one of those too, to go and spend time with the kiddos. And just a couple weeks ago, we were able to take the Easter bunny. And so, you know, for a very short moment in time, we are able to go over and impact those lives, and just seeing the kiddos beside themselves with excitement. And it's just amazing. They're actually coming to the hospital in a couple weeks for a fishing day in our healing garden. They're going to fly kites. They're going to have a little picnic. And, you know, our staff have said, hey, can we go out there? Absolutely. You know, that's what it's about, is really just making that connection. And I just can't tell you how phenomenal of an experience it has been.
Thank you very much. You can see there's some heavy lifting going on here, but there's also people having a lot of fun. And I'm like, if you're one of the businesses from one of the child care centers that was involved in the pilot project, would you please just stand for a second? If your business or your child, just stand for a second. I want to recognize these folks for what they've done. We're going to expand that. So please reach out to us. I'm going to ask the panelists to remain on stage for closing remarks. But let's give them one more round of applause. Hey, Mary. Thank you. Clap for everybody else. I just want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank you, Scholastic, Unilever as our presenting sponsors. You know, we've heard before that the public's private sector needs to get involved in some of these discussions around housing and childcare and all those things. And this is us doing that, right? And we thank our presenting sponsors for helping us do that. We'd like to thank Hitachi, you know, a big strategic partner for us as well at the chamber. They provided the cheesecake for us. I know that's like a big deal for me right now. I spent a lot of time with United where we like split Oreos in half and everybody gets one half of the Oreos. So we're really happy. We're happy that Hitachi kind of worked with big bucks for the cheesecake. The Jeff City School District, State Tech, thank you for being strategic partners as well in our talent initiatives. All the elected officials that are here today, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for the service to the community. But of course, thank you all for being here today. We've got a community of hardworking, community-focused people. We're engaged right now in a talent attraction campaign. We're trying to figure out what makes Jeff City special, and we hear that again and again. We're a community of hardworking, community-minded people. And we're just looking for more of those people to help fill jobs, to build homes, you know, to work in our workforce as well. And we look forward to developing that talent attraction campaign together. I've never seen our chamber so focused around one central initiative as we are on these couple of ones. And our community seems to really be embracing the need for this. So our problem has always been we fail to create consensus on how to best solve that problem. But I encourage everybody in the room today to keep pushing forward on that. Keep working to find creative solutions. And when the solutions present themselves, keep your mind open and think, are we better off for doing it? Can we move forward? I think like Logan said, can we just say yes to a couple of things and figure out the best way to solve those problems? I think it was Mayor Fitzwater at our chamber retreat said that we all know this is an issue. We're all in support of it. We all want to get to the same destination. We just have different roadmaps on how to get there, right? The next step is we've got to leave the driveway. You know, if we don't leave the driveway, we miss the trip altogether. So we look forward to, you know,
the next step of taking action in the community. But thank you all again. We'll see you next spring for our next State of the City and County. Thank you for the chamber staff for putting this together, and thank you for being here today.